Chapter 1. Your anger is not power, it's weakness. The myth of the strong, angry man. We live in a culture that confuses volume with authority. We see the CEO who screams at his subordinates and we think, he's the boss. We see the athlete who gets into a fight on the field and we think, he's got fire, he's a competitor. We see the man who smashes his fist against a table to get his way and we mistake that explosion for a display of dominance. But if you look closer, if you look at the mechanics of what is actually happening in those moments, you will see the exact opposite of power. You are witnessing a collapse. You are watching a person become a slave to a chemical surge in their brain. When you lose your temper, you are not taking control of the room. You are surrendering control of yourself. And if you cannot control yourself, you cannot control your future. This is the fundamental truth we must establish before we move forward. Losing control is losing authority. The biology of the collapse. Think about what happens to your body when anger takes the wheel. Your heart rate spikes. Your vision narrows. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for logic, long-term planning, and social behavior, effectively shuts down. You are being governed by the amygdala, a primitive, ancient part of the brain designed for one thing: survival in the face of a physical predator. In the modern world, your predator isn't a saber-toothed tiger. It's a disrespectful comment from a colleague. It's a slow driver in the fast lane. It's a late payment or a disobedient child. When you allow your primitive brain to react to these modern predators with ancient rage, you are effectively bringing a sledgehammer to a game of chess. The person across from you, the negotiator, the competitor, the enemy, sees your anger and they smile internally. Why? Because they know you are no longer thinking. They know that you are now predictable. They know that your power is just a mask for your inability to handle pressure. Losing control is losing authority. Case study: the calm negotiator versus the angry executive. Let's look at a real-world example. Imagine a high-stakes business negotiation. On one side of the table, you have an executive who is known for his toughness. He's loud. He's aggressive. When he doesn't get the terms he wants, he turns red. He raises his voice. He threatens to walk out. He thinks he is showing strength. On the other side of the table sits a negotiator who has mastered the art of restraint. This person doesn't flinch. When the executive screams, the negotiator simply waits. He watches. He notes the executive's blood pressure. He listens to the cracks in the executive's voice. Who has the power in this room? The negotiator knows that the executive is currently acting out of emotion, not strategy. The executive is desperate to win the moment, while the negotiator is focused on winning the deal. By the time the meeting is over, the executive has exhausted his energy and revealed his insecurities. The negotiator, having remained calm, walks away with the better terms. The same applies to athletes. Think of the legendary fighters or quarterbacks. The ones who win are not the ones who are angry. They are the ones who are clinical. Anger makes you swing wild. Discipline makes you hit the target. The illusion of venting. Many people tell themselves that they need to let it out. They believe that anger is like steam in a pressure cooker, that if they don't explode, they will burst. This is a psychological fallacy. Research shows that venting anger, through yelling, hitting things, or aggressive outbursts, actually increases your baseline level of aggression. It trains your brain to see anger as the default solution to discomfort. You aren't releasing pressure, you are practicing a bad habit. You are reinforcing a neural pathway that tells your brain, when things get hard, lose control. If you want to control your future, you must break this cycle. You must realize that every time you vent, you are leaking the very energy you need to build your empire. Real strength is the ability to hold that pressure and transform it into focused action. It is the ability to feel the fire and not let it burn the house down. The training of the pause. The mind is naturally wired to react fast. We are programmed for stimulus response. Stimulus: someone insults you. Response: you insult them back. Discipline is the act of inserting a pause between those two things. That pause is where your humanity lives. That pause is where your strategy is born. In that 3-second window where you choose not to react, You are training your mind to be a leader rather than a follower. When you feel the heat rising in your chest, that is the moment of truth. Most people fail here. They let the heat reach their throat and they speak. But the elite, the ones who control their destiny, they trap the heat. They use those seconds to ask, what is my goal right now? Does getting angry help me reach that goal? The answer is almost always no. The first step to authority. As you listen to this, I want you to look back at the last 3 times you lost your temper. Ask yourself, what did it cost me? Did it make the person respect me more? Or did it make them fear my instability? Did it solve the problem? Or did it just create a new one? You will find that every time you won an argument with anger, you lost a piece of your reputation. You lost a piece of your influence. From this moment forward, we are changing the definition of strength. Strength is not the ability to cause a scene. Strength is the ability to remain the calmest person in the room regardless of what is happening. When people try to provoke you, they are trying to bring you down to their level. They are trying to pull you into their chaos because they cannot survive in your calm. When you refuse to give them your anger, you maintain your high ground. You keep your power. Let this phrase ring in your ears today. Let it be the filter through which you view every interaction. Losing control is losing authority. Losing control is losing authority. Losing control is losing authority. If you want to lead others, you must first lead yourself. If you want to own the future, you must own your emotions. This is not just a self-help tip. This is the law of power. Chapter 2. Stop reacting, start observing. The automatic human. Most people live their entire lives as a series of reflexes. They are what I call automatic humans. If you push them, they push back. If you praise them, they smile. If you insult them, they scowl. They are like a piano. Anyone can walk up to them, hit a key, and get a predictable sound. If you are an automatic human, you are a slave. You are a slave to the moods of your spouse, the opinions of your boss, the rudeness of a stranger, and the algorithm of your social media feed. You are living in a state of constant reaction. Reaction is the death of strategy. Reaction is the opposite of leadership. When you react, you are giving away your most precious asset, your agency. In this chapter, we are going to learn how to break the reflex. We are going to move from being the person who is played like a piano to being the person who owns the instrument. We are moving from reaction to observation. Observe first. Decide second. The anatomy of the gap. There is a famous psychological principle, often attributed to Viktor Frankl, a man who survived the horrors of the Holocaust. He said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. The automatic human has no space. The stimulus hits, and the response happens instantly. Someone says, "You're incompetent," and before the sentence is even finished, the automatic human is shouting back, defending their ego, and escalating the conflict. The master of control has built a canyon between the stimulus and the response. When someone says, "You're incompetent," the master of control doesn't feel the need to defend. They use the space. They look at the person. They look at the situation. They observe. That space, that gap, is where your future is decided. If the gap is 0, your future is a coin toss. If the gap is wide, you are the master of your fate. How to observe? The lab coat mentality. Observation is intentional. It is a skill that must be practiced until it becomes your new default setting. Imagine you are a scientist in a laboratory. You are wearing a white lab coat, holding a clipboard, and watching a chemical reaction through a thick sheet of safety glass. You aren't in the reaction. If the chemicals bubble over and hiss, you don't get angry at the chemicals. You don't feel insulted by the acid. You simply look at it and think, interesting. The substance is reacting to the heat. I should note that. This is the mentality you must bring to your life. When a conflict arises, you must mentally put on the lab coat. Instead of saying, "I am angry," you say, "I am observing a feeling of anger rising in my chest." Instead of saying, "This person is a jerk," you say, "I am observing a person who is currently projecting their own insecurity through verbal aggression." Do you see the difference? In the first scenario, you are in the fire. In the second scenario, you are watching the fire. The moment you name the emotion, you detach from it. The moment you detach, you gain the upper hand. Observe first. Decide second. The insult, a game of chess. Let's look at a common scenario, a direct insult. Imagine you are at a gathering or in a professional setting, and someone says something designed to embarrass you. They make a sharp comment about your track record or your appearance. The automatic human reacts. They get defensive. They say, "Oh yeah? Well, at least I didn't fail at X, Y, and Z like you did." What has happened here? You have just handed that person the remote control to your life. They wanted to rattle you, and you showed them, and everyone watching, that you are easily rattled. You have lost authority. Now, let's look at the observer. The insult comes. The observer feels the sting, because we are all human, but they immediately go into the gap. They look at the person who insulted them. They don't look away. They look with curiosity. They think, why did this person feel the need to say that? Are they trying to look dominant? Are they having a bad day? Are they threatened by me? The observer stays silent for 3 seconds. This silence is devastating. It turns the spotlight back onto the attacker. When you don't react, the attacker starts to feel uncomfortable. Their power move has just fallen flat. Then, from a place of total calm, the observer says, "That's an interesting perspective. Why did you feel the need to share that right now?" With that one sentence, you have won. You have remained the adult in the room. You have observed their move, declined to participate, and countered with a question that forces them to explain themselves. You are in control. Training the naming technique. To get good at this, you have to train in the micro moments. You cannot wait for a major life crisis to practice observation. You practice when your coffee is cold. You practice when the internet is slow. I want you to start naming your reality. When you feel a surge of irritation, stop. Say it out loud if you are alone. I am observing a surge of irritation because the Wi-Fi is down. By using the words "I am observing," you are forcing your brain to use the prefrontal cortex. You are pulling the energy away from the lizard brain, the amygdala, and putting it into the logic center. You are training yourself to be a witness to your own life rather than a victim of it. The narcissist trap. There is a specific reason why you must master observation. Predators. There are people in this world, narcissists, manipulators, and office politicians, who feed on your reactions. They poke the bear on purpose. They want to see you explode because your explosion makes them look like the stable ones. It gives them leverage over you. It gives them proof that you are the problem. If you react, you are giving them exactly what they want. You are feeding the monster. But when you observe, you become a grey rock. A grey rock is boring. It doesn't react. It doesn't scream. It just sits there, being a rock. When a manipulator realizes they can't get a reaction out of you, they lose interest. They move on to an easier target, an automatic human. Observe first. Decide second. The decision, the final step. Once you have observed, you then reach the second part of the mantra. Decide. Most people think that not reacting means doing nothing. That is a mistake. Not reacting means you are choosing your move based on logic rather than impulse. Sometimes, after observing, you may decide that the best move is to walk away. Sometimes, you may decide the best move is to fire the person. Sometimes, you may decide the best move is to laugh. The difference is that you are making the decision. It is not being made for you by your hormones or your ego. It is a strategic move designed to protect your future. Chapter 2 Summary. The Shift. As we end this chapter, I want you to commit to a 24-hour challenge. For the next 24 hours, your goal is to be the scientist of your own life. Every time someone speaks to you, every time an email hits your inbox, every time a thought enters your head, don't join it. Watch it. If someone cuts you off in traffic, don't hit the horn. Say, I am observing a driver in a hurry. If your partner is being moody, don't catch the mood like a virus. Say, I am observing that my partner is stressed. When you stop reacting, you stop leaking power. When you start observing, you start gaining information. And in the game of life, the person with the most information and the most control always wins. Observe first. Decide second. Observe first. Decide second. Observe first. Decide second. You are no longer a piano. You are the pianist. Chapter 3. Your triggers are training grounds. The victim's complaint. Most people walk through the world feeling like a target. They feel like life is happening to them. They say things like, "He made me so angry," or "That traffic ruined my day," or "I can't believe they treated me with such disrespect." When you speak like this, you are declaring yourself a victim. You are saying that your internal peace is at the mercy of the outside world. You are saying that a random person at a grocery store or a slow-moving car has the power to dictate your emotional state. I want you to stop complaining about your triggers. I want you to start thanking them. In this chapter, we are going to flip the script. We are going to stop seeing triggers as attacks on our peace and start seeing them as the weight room for our discipline. We are going to realize that every person who annoys you is actually a volunteer coach helping you get stronger. This is practice. This is training. The map of your weakness. A trigger is nothing more than a diagnostic tool. It is a blinking red light on the dashboard of your soul telling you exactly where you lack control. If someone disrespects you and you lose your mind, it doesn't just mean they were rude, it means your ego is fragile. If a delay in your schedule makes you explode with frustration, it doesn't just mean the world is slow, it means you have an unhealthy obsession with control. Your triggers are a map. They show you exactly where your armor is thin. Think about it. If you had total confidence in your worth, would a stranger's insult bother you? No. It would be like a toddler telling a professional athlete that they aren't good at sports. The athlete wouldn't get angry, they would laugh. Why? Because the trigger found no purchase. There was no weakness to latch onto. When you get triggered, you have just been given a gift. You have been shown exactly what you need to work on next. This is practice. This is training. The 4 hot zones of triggering. To master your triggers, you must first identify them. Most human anger falls into one of 4 hot zones. As I list these, I want you to look inward. Which one of these is your biggest training ground? 1. The zone of disrespect. This is the ego trigger. This happens when you feel ignored, belittled, or talked down to. If this is your trigger, your training is to build a self-worth that doesn't require outside validation. 2. The zone of incompetence. This is the frustration trigger. This happens when the person at the drive-thru gets your order wrong, or a colleague misses a deadline. If this is your trigger, your training is to build patience and a realization that you cannot control the performance of others, only your response to it. 3. The zone of delay. This is the entitlement trigger. It happens in traffic, in long lines, or when a project is stalled. If this is your trigger, your training is to master the pause and use that time for something productive, like breathing or observation. 4. The zone of injustice. This is the righteous trigger. It happens when things aren't fair. But here is a hard truth. The universe does not owe you fairness. If this is your trigger, your training is to accept reality as it is, so you can change it, rather than whining about how it should be. Identify your zone. Own it. This is where your work begins. The gym of the soul. Imagine you go to the gym to build your chest muscles. You lay down on the bench and you prepare to lift the bar. Do you get angry at the weights because they are heavy? Do you yell at the iron because it is resisting you? Of course not. You want the resistance. You know that without the weight pushing against you, your muscles will never grow. The resistance is the point. Your life is your gym. The difficult people in your life. They are the heavy plates. The traffic jams. That's the cardio. The disrespectful boss. That's the personal trainer who pushes you to your limit. When you find yourself in a situation that makes your blood boil, I want you to visualize yourself in that gym. Don't look for the exit. Don't look for someone to blame. Grip the bar. Feel the weight. And say to yourself, this is practice. This is training. If you can stay calm when the weight is heavy, you are getting stronger. Every second you remain composed under pressure, you are adding representatives to your emotional endurance. The story of the silent leader. Consider the story of a high-level CEO I once knew. He was known for being unshakable. One day, during a high-stakes board meeting, a junior partner, trying to make a name for himself, interrupted the CEO and launched into a 5-minute critique of the CEO's latest strategy. It was disrespectful, public, and largely inaccurate. The room went silent. Everyone expected the CEO to tear the young man apart. They expected an explosion. Instead, the CEO sat there. He didn't cross his arms. He didn't turn red. He looked at the young man with genuine curiosity. He was observing, just like we learned in Chapter 2. When the young man finally finished, the CEO waited 3 seconds, the power pause, and said, "Thank you for that perspective. I've noted your concerns. Let's move to the next item on the agenda." After the meeting, I asked him how he stayed so calm. He smiled and said, "I've been waiting for someone to do that. I've been practicing my composure for months, and that kid gave me the best workout I've had all year. He thought he was attacking me. I saw him as a volunteer coach." That is the level of mastery we are aiming for. When you see a trigger as a workout, you stop being afraid of it. You start looking forward to it. Practical tool, the trigger log. For the next week, I want you to keep a trigger log. Every time you feel that surge of heat, that I'm about to lose it feeling, write down 3 things. The stimulus, what happened? E.g., wife criticized my driving. The weakness, what part of my ego was hit? E.g., I felt my competence was being questioned. The rep, did I lift the weight or did I drop it? E.g., I stayed silent and breathed through it. 1 rep completed. If you do this, you will start to see that your enemies are actually your best employees. They are working for free to help you become a person of steel. Reframing the conflict. Next time someone shouts at you, next time a project fails, next time you are stuck in a situation that feels unfair, do not let your head drop. Do not let your voice rise. Square your shoulders. Take a deep breath. Recognize the weight that has just been placed on your shoulders. Smile, even if it's just in your mind, and say, "This is practice. This is training. This is practice. This is training. This is practice. This is training." You are not a victim of your triggers. You are the architect of the person you are becoming. And that person is someone who cannot be broken. Chapter 4. The cost of one emotional mistake. The 20-year wall. Construction is slow. Destruction is fast. To build a skyscraper, you need years of planning, thousands of hours of labor, and millions of dollars in materials. To bring it down, you only need a few well-placed charges of dynamite and a fraction of a second. Your life, your reputation, your career, your family, your legacy is that skyscraper. You have spent decades laying the bricks. You have stayed late at the office, you have made sacrifices, you have built trust with your partner, and you have carefully curated how the world perceives you. You have worked too hard to let a single spark of temper burn the whole thing to the ground. But that is exactly what anger does. It is the dynamite in the foundation of your life. 1 second. 1 mistake. 1 consequence. The reality distortion field. The most dangerous thing about anger is not the volume of your voice. It is the way it warps your perception of time and consequence. When you are calm, you are a long-term thinker. You think about next week, next year, and your 5-year plan. But the moment anger takes hold, your time horizon shrinks to the present second. You no longer care about tomorrow. You no longer care about your reputation. In that white-hot moment, the only thing that matters is winning the argument or punishing the person who offended you. Anger creates a temporary insanity. It tells you that you are untouchable. It tells you that the person deserves whatever you are about to say. It tells you that there will be no fallout. Anger is a liar. The consequences don't care that you were stressed. The consequences don't care that they started it. The world only sees the rubble. 1 second. 1 mistake. 1 consequence. The career killer, the send button. Let's talk about the modern-day executioner, the keyboard. In the past, if you were angry at a boss or a client, you had to find them, look them in the eye, and speak. That gave you time to cool down. Today, The distance between a rage-filled thought and global distribution is less than an inch. I want to tell you about a man I'll call Mark. Mark was a brilliant creative director at a top-tier firm. He was 3 months away from a partnership that would have secured his family's financial future for life. One Friday evening, a junior account manager sent him a feedback email that Mark felt was disrespectful and amateur. Mark had been drinking a glass of wine. He was tired. He was triggered. Instead of closing his laptop and going to bed, he decided to put the kid in his place. He wrote a blistering, 5-paragraph response. He didn't just critique the work. He attacked the junior's intelligence, his education, and his character. And then, in a final act of self-destruction, he CC'd the entire department to make an example of him. Mark woke up on Saturday feeling a slight sense of regret. By Monday morning, he was escorted out of the building by security. The partnership was gone. His reputation in the industry was poisoned. All those years of 80-hour weeks, all those awards, they didn't matter. He wasn't Mark the brilliant director anymore. He was Mark the liability. He spent 20 years building the wall. He spent 10 seconds tearing it down. 1 second. One mistake. One consequence. The relationship poisoner. The word you can't take back. The stakes are even higher at home. We often treat the people we love the most with the least amount of emotional discipline. We think because they love us, they are safe targets for our venting. But words are like nails driven into a wooden fence. You can pull the nail out, you can say I'm sorry, but the hole remains. There are things you can say in a moment of heat, insults about a spouse's deepest insecurities, cruel comparisons, or threats of abandonment that change a relationship forever. The argument might end, but the trust never fully recovers. The person looks at you differently now. They know what you are capable of saying when the mask slips. Is a 30-second release of steam worth a lifetime of distance? Is winning an argument about the dishes worth losing the heart of your partner? When you feel the urge to stab with your words, remember the hole in the fence. The public record. The camera is always on. We live in the era of the main character. Everyone has a high-definition camera in their pocket. If you lose your temper in a grocery store, on an airplane, or in traffic, you are not just having a bad moment. You are potentially creating a viral video that will follow you for the rest of your life. We have all seen the videos. The Karen outbursts, the road rage incidents, the airport meltdowns. These people aren't usually monsters. They are often normal people who had a very bad day and zero emotional control. But the internet doesn't do nuance. One recorded outburst can lead to you being fired, your children being bullied, and your name being synonymous with crazy on every search engine for the next decade. Your future is being recorded. Do not give the world a reason to hit upload on your downfall. 1 second. One mistake. One consequence. The drunk on rage rule. To prevent the one mistake that ruins everything, you must treat your anger like alcohol. When you are drunk, you know you shouldn't drive. You know your judgment is impaired. You, hopefully, hand your keys to someone else. When you are angry, you are chemically intoxicated. Your brain is flooded with adrenaline and cortisol. You are not fit to make decisions. You are not fit to send emails. You are not fit to have serious talks about your relationship. The rule is simple. Never make a permanent decision based on a temporary emotion. If you are angry, you are off duty. You do not drive the car of your life until your heart rate is under 70 beats per minute. You don't speak. You don't text. You don't decide. You wait. The future self-check. Before you let the anger out, I want you to perform a 10-second mental exercise. I want you to invite your future self into the room. Imagine yourself 5 years from now. You are happy, you are successful, and you are looking back at this exact moment. Does that future self want you to say this? Does that future self want to spend the next 5 years cleaning up the mess you are about to make? Your future self is begging you to stay calm. Your future self is depending on you to exercise restraint right now so they can have a life worth living. Don't betray the person you are becoming for the sake of the person you are right now. Chapter 4 Summary. The weight of the second. Every time you feel the heat of anger, I want you to visualize a scale. On one side of the scale is the satisfaction of yelling, hitting, or sending that nasty message. That side weighs almost nothing. It is a fleeting, cheap thrill that lasts for a minute. On the other side of the scale is everything you own. Your paycheck, your kids' respect, your house, your peace of mind, your dignity. Which side are you going to choose? Control is not just a nice habit. It is your insurance policy against total life destruction. Be the person who is too smart to trade their future for a few seconds of shouting. 1 second. 1 mistake. 1 consequence. 1 second. 1 mistake. 1 consequence. 1 second. 1 mistake. 1 consequence. Keep your skyscraper standing. Chapter 5. Silence is a weapon. The fear of the void. Have you ever noticed how uncomfortable people get when a conversation stops? In a world addicted to noise, to social media pings, background TV, and constant chatter, silence feels like a threat. Most people are terrified of a quiet room. When a gap in conversation lasts longer than 3 seconds, the average person feels a desperate, almost physical urge to fill it. They start babbling. They crack a joke. They over-explain. They apologize for things they didn't do. When you are angry, your instinct is to join the noise. You want to defend your honor. You want to prove you're right. You want to win by having the last word. But I want you to realize a profound strategic truth. The person who speaks the most is usually the person with the least power. The person who speaks the most is the one leaking information, leaking emotion, and leaking authority. If you want to control the room, you must learn to weaponize the void. You must learn that silence is not the absence of a response, it is the most powerful response you have. Pause. Breathe. Say less. The psychology of the vacuum. Silence creates a psychological vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does the human ego. When you remain silent in the face of an attack or a difficult question, you are essentially holding up a mirror to the other person. Because you aren't providing them with a target to hit, they begin to hit themselves. Think about an argument. When someone yells at you and you yell back, you are giving them exactly what they need, fuel. Your reaction justifies their anger. It turns the situation into a fight, and in a fight, both sides feel righteous. But what happens when they yell at you and you simply look at them? You don't scowl. You don't roll your eyes. You just look at them with a neutral, steady gaze. Suddenly, the fight is gone. They are standing there, red-faced and screaming, while you are standing there, calm and composed. In the vacuum of your silence, they begin to hear how ridiculous they sound. They begin to feel the weight of their own instability. By saying nothing, you have forced them to confront their own lack of control. Pause. Breathe. Say less. The negotiator's edge. In the world of high-level business and diplomacy, silence is the ultimate closer. Imagine you are negotiating a salary or a contract. The other party makes an offer that is lower than what you want. The automatic human reacts. They say, "That's insulting. I've worked here for 5 years, I deserve more." The master of control does something different. When the low offer is made, they simply stop talking. They look at the offer on the paper, then they look at the person across from them. They wait. The silence stretches. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. 15 seconds. The person across the table starts to sweat. They think, are they angry? Did I offend them? Are they about to walk out? To kill the discomfort of the silence, they will almost always start talking. They will say things like, "Well, that's just a starting point." Or, "We might be able to find some extra budget in the next quarter." By saying absolutely nothing, you have forced the other person to negotiate against themselves. You have won the move without moving a single muscle. This is the power of information asymmetry. The one who talks is giving away information about their fears, their needs, and their limits. The one who is silent is a black box. You cannot be read. You cannot be manipulated. You are a fortress. The power pause in personal conflict. How does this work in your personal life? Imagine a heated moment with a spouse or a friend. They say something below the belt. Your pulse is racing. Your anger habit wants to launch a counterattack. Instead of speaking, I want you to implement the 5-second rule of silence. Count to 5 in your head. During those 5 seconds, do 3 things. Pause. Stop all movement. Breathe. Take 1 slow, deep breath into your belly. Observe. Look at the other person. Notice their body language. Notice your own heart rate. By the time you reach 5, the chemical peak of your anger has already started to subside. Your logic center is back online. Now, you can choose to say something that actually solves the problem, or, even better, you can choose to say nothing at all. Many times, the most powerful thing you can say is, I'm going to take a moment to think about what you just said. Let's talk in an hour. This isn't avoiding the conflict. This is controlling the terms of the engagement. You are refusing to fight when you are emotionally drunk. You are choosing to speak only when your words can be used as tools, not as blunt objects. Pause. Breathe. Say less. The trap of the last word. Why are we so obsessed with having the last word? It is a function of the ego. The ego believes that if we get the last word in, we won. But let's look at the reality. The person who insists on having the last word usually looks desperate. They look like they need the other person's surrender to feel okay. The truly powerful person doesn't need the last word because they already have the last laugh. They know that their silence is more memorable than any insult. People forget what you said, but they never forget how you behaved. If you walk away from an argument without saying a word, you leave the other person with a sense of unresolved tension. They will think about that interaction for days. They will wonder what you were thinking. They will wonder if you are planning a move. Your silence makes you a mystery. Your silence makes you a threat. Your silence makes you a leader. Practice the speak second exercise. For the next few days, I want you to practice a simple exercise in every meeting, dinner, or social gathering you attend. Be the last person to speak. Listen to everyone else's opinion first. Let them exhaust their ideas. Let them show their cards. While they are talking, you are observing. You are gathering data. You are seeing who is anxious, who is arrogant, and who is actually smart. When you finally do speak, after everyone else has finished, your words will have the weight of an anchor. You will be able to synthesize everything that was said and provide a clear, calm direction. People will start to notice. They will say, when he speaks, it matters. They will say, she doesn't say much, but you'd better listen when she does. You are building a brand of authority. And that brand is built on the foundation of silence. Chapter 5 Summary. The warrior's restraint. Anger wants to be loud. It wants to scream. It wants to shatter the glass. But you are not a child. You are a strategist. You know that a scream is just a sign that you've run out of ideas. From now on, when the heat of temper rises, I want you to see silence as your shield. I want you to see the power pause as your weapon. If they provoke you, give them nothing. If they insult you, give them nothing. If they demand an immediate answer, give them a breath and a pause. In the silence, you will find your clarity. In the silence, you will find your dignity. In the silence, you will find your power. Pause. Breathe. Say less. Pause. Breathe. Say less. Pause. Breathe. Say less. The world belongs to those who know when to shut their mouths. Chapter 6. Control your body to control your mind. The lie of mind over matter. We have all heard the phrase mind over matter. We are told that if we are strong enough, we can simply think our way out of any emotion. We are told to just calm down or think happy thoughts. But if you have ever been truly, incandescently angry, you know that this is a lie. When your heart is hammering at 120 beats per minute, when your hands are shaking with adrenaline, and when your vision is narrowing into a tunnel of rage, logic has left the building. You cannot reason with a chemical storm. You cannot use your mind to fix your mind when your brain is currently offline. However, there is a back door into your psychology. That back door is your physiology. Your brain and your body are in a constant, high-speed feedback loop. While your brain can tell your heart to beat faster, your heart can also tell your brain that it is time to be afraid or angry. If you want to control your future, you must stop trying to argue with your thoughts and start commanding your body. You must learn the golden rule of emotional regulation. Slow body, slow mind. The anatomy of the attack. Let's look at what happens the moment you are triggered. Before you even consciously realize you are angry, your nervous system has already flipped the red switch. Your adrenal glands dump cortisol and adrenaline into your bloodstream. Your pupils dilate. Your blood moves away from your digestive system and into your large muscle groups, your thighs and your biceps, preparing you to fight or flee. Crucially, your breathing becomes shallow and moves up into your chest. Your jaw tightens. Your fists clench. Your brain looks at these physical signals and says, "Aha!" The jaw is tight, the breath is shallow, and the heart is racing. We must be in a life or death struggle. Increase the anger. Increase the aggression. The body feeds the mind, and the mind feeds the body. It is a runaway train. To stop the train, you don't jump in front of it. You pull the emergency brake on the physical tracks. If you can force your body to act as if it is calm, your brain will eventually receive the message that the danger has passed. Slow body, slow mind. The first brake, the vagus nerve and the breath. The fastest way to hack your nervous system is through your breath. It is the only part of your autonomic nervous system that you can control consciously. When you are angry, you breathe like a hunted animal. Short, sharp gasps from the chest. To break the anger, you must breathe like a sleeping giant. I want you to learn the physiological sigh. This is a technique used by elite special forces and high-stress performers. Take a deep breath in through your nose until your lungs are almost full. At the very top, take one more tiny, sharp sip of air to fully expand the air sacs in your lungs. Exhale as slowly as possible through your mouth, as if you are blowing through a tiny straw. The long exhale triggers the vagus nerve, which sends a direct kill command to your stress response. It forces your heart rate to drop. It tells your brain, we are exhaling slowly, therefore we cannot be in a fight. If you can do this 3 times, the chemical peak of your anger will break. You might still be annoyed, but you will no longer be possessed by the rage. The second break, the open palm strategy. Watch an angry person's hands. They are almost always balled into fists, or they are pointing and jabbing. This tension in the hands sends a signal of combat to the brain. To break the loop, you must consciously release the grip. When you feel the heat of a conflict, consciously check your hands. Open them. Rest them flat on the table, or let them hang loosely at your sides with the palms slightly turned forward. This is more than just a gesture. By opening your palms, you are physically incapable of maintaining the same level of aggression. You are signaling peace to your own nervous system. You are telling your brain that there is no need to strike. Combine this with dropping the shoulders. When we are angry, we wear our shoulders like earrings. They hunch up toward our neck. Consciously drop them. Let the tension drain out. Slow body, slow mind. The third break, the whisper response. Anger has a specific tone. It is loud, it is high-pitched, and it is fast. When you speak in an angry voice, you are reinforcing your own anger, and you are triggering the anger of everyone else in the room. The master of control uses the volume down technique. The more someone yells at you, the quieter you become. If they raise their voice, you lower yours. If they speak faster, you speak slower. By lowering your volume to a near whisper, you do 2 things. You force your own brain to focus on the mechanical act of speaking softly, which requires logic and control. You force the other person to stop yelling just so they can hear what you are saying. You are effectively dampening the fire. You cannot have a screaming match if one person refuses to scream. By controlling your tone, you are dictating the vibration of the entire interaction. The physical break, changing the scene. Sometimes, the red zone is too intense to handle in the moment. The chemicals are too thick in the air. In these moments, your best physical move is the exit. There is no rule that says you have to stay in a room where you are losing your cool. In fact, staying in the room is often an act of ego. If you feel the point of no return approaching, you must physically remove your body from the environment. Stand up. Walk out of the room. Go to the bathroom and splash cold water on your face. The act of walking, the bilateral movement of your legs, helps the brain process emotion. The cold water on your face triggers what scientists call the mammalian dive reflex, which instantly slows your heart rate. By the time you walk back into that room, you are a different person. You have cleared the smoke. You have regained your authority. Practice the body scan drill. I want you to practice body literacy. Most of us are disembodied. We live entirely in our heads and don't notice our bodies until they are screaming at us. Starting today, set a timer on your phone for 3 times a day. When it goes off, perform a 5-second body scan. Is my jaw clenched? Unclench it. Are my shoulders up? Drop them. Is my breath shallow? Take 1 deep belly breath. Are my hands tight? Open them. By doing this when you are not angry, you are building the muscle memory of relaxation. You are making calm your default setting. Then, when the crisis hits, your body will know exactly what to do. You won't have to think about it. Your body will automatically drop into a state of ready restraint. Chapter 6 Summary. The pilot of the machine. You are the pilot. Your body is the aircraft. If a pilot sees the engine fire light blinking, they don't just sit there wishing the light would go out. They follow a checklist. They flip switches. They engage the extinguishers. Your anger is an engine fire. Your checklist is your body. From this moment on, when the red light of temper begins to blink, ignore the thoughts in your head. They are unreliable. Instead, go to your checklist. Breathe. Physiological sigh. Open. Hands and shoulders. Quiet. Lower the volume. Move. Change the scene if necessary. Control the machine, and the machine will control the mind. Slow body. Slow mind. Slow body. Slow mind. Slow body. Slow mind. The future belongs to the person who can stay physically relaxed in the middle of a war. Chapter 7. Discipline beats emotion every time. The tyranny of the how I feel culture. We live in an era that worships emotion. We are told to follow our hearts, to honor our feelings, and to be authentic to whatever mood we happen to be in at the moment. We are taught that if we feel sad, we should stop working. If we feel tired, we should quit. And if we feel angry, we have a right to express it. This is the philosophy of the mediocre. If you only act when you feel like it, you are at the mercy of the most unreliable force in the universe. Emotions are like the weather in the mountains. They can change from sunshine to a blizzard in 10 minutes. If your future is built on the foundation of your emotions, your future is built on quicksand. The most successful people on this planet, the ones who stay at the top for decades, do not have better emotions than you. They get just as angry, just as tired, and just as frustrated as you do. The difference is that they have built a wall between how they feel and how they act. That wall is called discipline. Feel it. Don't follow it. The 2 versions of you. To master this chapter, you must recognize that there are 2 versions of you living inside your skin. First, there is the feeling self. This is the version of you that is primitive, reactive, and impulsive. The feeling self wants comfort. It wants to be right. It wants to scream when it's insulted. It wants to eat the cake, sleep in late, and tell the boss to go to hell. The feeling self lives entirely in the present moment. It has no concept of tomorrow. Second, there is the acting self, or the disciplined self. This is the version of you that holds the map to your future. The acting self knows that today's work creates tomorrow's wealth. It knows that keeping your cool today saves your reputation tomorrow. The acting self operates on values, principles, and goals. The secret to an unstoppable life is simple. The feeling self is allowed to have an opinion, but the acting self makes the decisions. When you are triggered, your feeling self will scream, "He can't talk to us like that. Let's show him who's boss." The disciplined person acknowledges that voice. They say, "I hear you. I feel that anger. It's loud. But we are going to act with professional restraint because our goal is the promotion, not the argument." Feel it. Don't follow it. The trap of venting and catharsis. There is a dangerous myth that you must release your emotions to be healthy. People say, "I just had to get it out of my system." But let's look at the science of high performance. Do you think a bomb disposal expert gets it out of their system when they are nervous? Do you think a surgeon vents their frustration in the middle of a 5-hour operation? No. They suppress the impulse so they can execute the task. Every time you follow an angry impulse, you are not releasing it, you are training it. You are feeding the feeling self. You are telling your brain that the feeling self is the boss. Discipline is the practice of starving the impulse. When you feel the urge to explode and you choose to stay calm, you are performing a repetition for your discipline muscle. You are teaching your brain that feelings are just data, they are not commands. The 10-year test. How do you know when to listen to an emotion and when to ignore it? You use the 10-year test. When you are in the heat of a moment and your temper is telling you to burn a bridge, ask yourself, will this emotional outburst matter in 10 years? Will it help the version of me that exists in 10 years? The answer is almost always a resounding no. In 10 years, you won't remember the insult. You won't remember the person who cut you off in traffic. But you will still be living with the consequences of your discipline, or your lack of it. The disciplined person acts for the version of themselves that hasn't been born yet. They realize that future you is depending on present you to stay cool. If you can't control your temper, you are essentially stealing from your future self. You are sabotaging the person you are trying to become for the sake of a 30-second dopamine hit of being right. Case study: the elite athlete's cold state. Look at the greatest winners in sports history: Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Tom Brady. These men were famously angry competitors. They were fueled by slights and disrespect. But watch them in the final 2 minutes of a championship game. They aren't screaming. They aren't flailing. They are in a cold state. They have taken all that raw, hot emotional energy and funneled it through the narrow pipe of discipline. They don't let the anger dictate their movements. They use the energy of the anger to increase their focus. The amateur gets angry and loses his technique. The professional gets angry and doubles down on his technique. If you are a business owner, a parent, or a leader, you are an athlete in the arena of life. When the pressure is on, your technique is your character. Discipline is what keeps your character intact when the fire gets hot. Building the discipline wall. Daily training. You cannot expect to have discipline in a crisis if you don't practice it in the mundane. Discipline is a lifestyle, not a light switch. If you want to be the person who stays calm during a $100,000 negotiation, you must be the person who stays calm when you drop a glass of water in the kitchen. You build the discipline wall through small, daily denials of the feeling self. The alarm clock. When the alarm goes off and you feel like staying in bed, you get up anyway. That is a rep for discipline. The cold shower. When your body feels like it wants warm water, you turn it to cold. You are telling your feeling self, I am the boss here. The interruption. When someone interrupts you and you feel like snapping, you breathe and listen. These micro moments are the training grounds for your future. If you can say no to a feeling in the small things, you will have the strength to say no to the anger in the big things. The freedom of the disciplined. People think discipline is a cage. They think that by controlling their temper, they are repressing themselves. They have it backward. The person who cannot control their temper is the one in the cage. They are a prisoner of their environment. They are a slave to whoever decides to annoy them today. The disciplined person is the only truly free person. Because they control their responses, they can go anywhere, talk to anyone, and handle any situation without fear of self-destruction. They are manipulatable. When you decide that your goals are more important than your feelings, you become a force of nature. You become the acting force in your life, rather than the reacting force. Feel it. Don't follow it. Chapter 7 Summary. The Iron Choice. Every morning when you wake up, you are entering a battlefield. On one side is the temporary, shifting, noisy world of your emotions. On the other side is the permanent, solid, quiet world of your discipline. Anger will come. It is inevitable. It is a part of the human hardware. But you have the software to override it. Next time you are provoked, remember that you are at a crossroads. One path leads to the satisfaction of the feeling self and a damaged future. The other path leads to the restraint of the acting self and a future of power. Make the iron choice. Feel it. Don't follow it. Feel it. Don't follow it. Feel it. Don't follow it. Discipline is the price of admission for the life you want. Pay it gladly. Chapter 8. Detach to gain control. The puppet strings of the ego. Every time you take something personally, you are handing a stranger a string. When they pull that string with a rude comment, you dance with anger. When they pull it with a lack of appreciation, you dance with resentment. When they pull it with a delay, you dance with frustration. Most people walk through life covered in thousands of these strings. They are emotional puppets, twitching and jerking at the whim of every person they encounter. They believe they are authentic because they express how they feel, but in reality, they have no identity of their own. Their identity is simply a collection of reactions to other people's behavior. Control is not just about holding back your temper. It is about cutting the strings. It is about reaching a state of detachment. Detachment is often misunderstood as being cold, robotic, or uncaring. This is a mistake. Detachment is not the absence of care. It is the absence of attachment to the outcome. It is the ability to stand in the middle of a chaotic situation, observe it with total clarity, and refuse to let it enter your internal sanctuary. Not everything deserves your energy. The surgeon's distance. Think about a world-class heart surgeon. Does that surgeon care about the patient? Absolutely. They want the patient to live. They have dedicated their life to the craft of saving lives. But when that surgeon is in the middle of a bypass and an artery starts to bleed, do they get angry at the artery? Do they take the bleeding personally? Do they scream at the heart for being disrespectful or difficult? No. If the surgeon lost their cool, the patient would die. The surgeon remains detached. They see the blood as a technical problem to be solved, not a personal insult to be avenged. They maintain a professional distance that allows their hands to remain steady while the stakes are life and death. You must become the surgeon of your own life. Your patients are your business deals, your family conflicts, and your long-term goals. When things bleed, when people are rude or plans fail, you must maintain the surgeon's distance. If you get emotionally entangled in the mess, you lose the steady hand required to fix it. Not everything deserves your energy. The personalization trap. Why do we lose our temper? Because our ego tells us a story that the world is doing this to us. If a waiter is slow, the ego says, "He doesn't respect my time. He thinks I'm not important." If a driver cuts you off, the ego says, "He thinks he's better than me. He's trying to dominate me." If a spouse forgets an anniversary, the ego says, "They don't love me anymore." This is the personalization trap. The truth is, 99% of what people do has absolutely nothing to do with you. The waiter is slow because his mother is in the hospital and his mind is elsewhere. The driver cut you off because he's a distracted, incompetent driver who didn't even see you. Your spouse forgot the date because their brain was overwhelmed by a crisis at work. When you detach, you realize that you are just a background character in most people's lives. They aren't attacking you. They are simply struggling through their own messy, chaotic existence. When you stop taking things personally, anger becomes impossible. You can't be angry at a person who is simply being a person. You can only be angry at the story you told yourself about them. Cut the story, and you cut the anger. Technique. The third-person perspective. How do you detach in real time? You use the camera zoom-out technique. When you feel the heat of a conflict rising, imagine there is a camera mounted on the ceiling, looking down at the room. Now, imagine that camera zooms out until it's looking at the entire building. Then, zoom out until it's looking at the entire city. Then, the entire planet. From the perspective of the planet, how important is that disrespectful comment from your coworker? It is less than a grain of sand. It is a microscopic blip in the history of the universe. By zooming out, you move from the first person, "I am angry, this is happening to me," to the third person, "There is a person named, your name, having a disagreement with another person." This psychological distancing shuts down the amygdala. It allows you to see the situation objectively. You can now see the chessboard of the interaction. You see that the person across from you is acting out of fear or ego. You see the trap they are laying. And because you are detached, You can simply choose not to walk into it. Not everything deserves your energy. Your daily energy budget. I want you to imagine that every morning you wake up with exactly 100 units of energy in your life bank. You cannot get more. Once they are spent, they are gone. Everything you do costs units. Solving a problem at work costs 10 units. Playing with your kids costs 20 units. Planning your future costs 15 units. Now, think about the last time you got into a screaming match in traffic or a 2-hour argument on the internet. How many units did that cost you? The anger itself cost 10 units. The stress recovery cost 15 units. The replaying the argument in your head for the next 3 hours cost another 20 units. You just spent nearly half of your daily wealth on a person you don't even like. You just gave away 45 units of your life to a total stranger who won't even remember your name tomorrow. Is that a good investment? The master of control is a stingy investor of energy. When someone tries to provoke them, they look at the energy cost and they think, this person is asking for 30 units of my peace. They aren't worth 1 unit. When you detach, you are making a financial decision for your soul. You are saying, I have bigger things to do with my energy than waste it on you. Dealing with the UN detachable. What about the people you can't walk away from? The toxic boss, the difficult family member, the person you see every day? You must create an emotional buffer zone. Think of yourself like a high-end luxury car. A luxury car has a top-tier suspension system. When the car hits a pothole, the wheels bounce, but the person inside doesn't feel a thing. The suspension absorbs the shock so the passenger stays smooth. Your detachment is your suspension system. When a toxic person hits a pothole near you, when they vent, complain, or insult, you let your detachment suspension absorb the shock. You listen, you nod, and you say, I see. But you don't let the vibration reach the cabin of your heart. You stay smooth inside while the wheels do the work outside. You realize that their toxicity is a them problem, not a you problem. You are the observer, not the participant. Not everything deserves your energy. The freedom of being a nobody. The ultimate level of detachment comes when you drop the need to be important. Anger usually comes from the desire to be seen, respected, or acknowledged. When we don't get that, we explode. But there is a massive power in being invisible. When you don't care if people think you're smart, or powerful, or the boss, they lose all their leverage over you. If they call you a fool, you smile. If they ignore you, you continue your work. By detaching from your own ego, you become untouchable. You are no longer defending a self-image that can be bruised. You are simply a force moving toward a goal. Chapter 8 Summary. The unshakable core. Detachment is the mark of the true elite. It is the difference between a person who is drifting in the sea and a person who is an island. The world will try to pull you into its storms. People will try to drag you into their drama. They want you to be as miserable and reactive as they are. Don't go. Stay on your island. Watch the waves crash against the shore. Observe the storm from behind the glass. Take a deep breath and remember, not everything deserves your energy. Not everything deserves your energy. Not everything deserves your energy. Choose your battles. Protect your peace. Own your future. Chapter 9. Build emotional endurance daily. The fallacy of the one-time decision. Most people approach emotional control the same way they approach New Year's resolutions. They wake up one morning, exhausted by their own drama, and say, that's it. I'm going to be a calm person from now on. I'm never going to lose my temper again. And for 3 hours, they succeed. Then, someone forgets to put the cap back on the toothpaste, or a client sends a passive-aggressive email and the decision vanishes. They explode. Then they feel guilty. Then they decide they just aren't a calm person and they give up. You cannot decide your way into a new character. You can only train your way there. Emotional control is not a light switch. It is a muscle. If you walked into a gym and tried to bench press 400 pounds without ever having lifted a weight, the bar would crush your chest. It doesn't matter how much you decided to be strong. Your muscles simply don't have the endurance. When a massive life crisis hits, a divorce, a bankruptcy, a public scandal, The weight of that anger is 400 pounds. If you haven't been doing your emotional push-ups every single day in the small moments, you will be crushed. Practice control. Every day. Every moment. The science of the break. To build endurance, you must understand what you are training. Deep inside your brain is the prefrontal cortex, the seat of logic and restraint. Think of this as your mental brake system. Below that is the limbic system, the seat of emotion and impulse. Think of this as the mental gas pedal. In an untrained person, the gas pedal is stuck to the floor and the brakes are thin and worn out. Every time you resist a small impulse, you are physically thickening the brake pads in your brain. You are building neural pathways that make restraint easier the next time. Emotional endurance is the ability to keep those brakes applied even when the engine is screaming. If you want to be untouchable in a year, you must begin your roadwork today. The inconvenience diet. We live in a world designed for instant response. We have high-speed internet, instant messaging, and one-click ordering. We have been conditioned to believe that any delay is an insult. This instant world has made our emotional muscles weak and flabby. To build endurance, you must go on an inconvenience diet. You must intentionally seek out small moments of frustration and use them as representatives for your restraint. The slow lane drill. Next time you are driving, intentionally get into the slowest lane, the one behind the truck or the cautious driver. Stay there for 10 minutes. Do not switch lanes. Do not honk. Do not tailgate. Just sit there and feel the itch of impatience. Observe the itch. Let it be there. And do nothing. The red light breath. When you hit a red light, instead of checking your phone or huffing in frustration, take that as a mandatory rest period. Take 3 deep breaths. Smile. You are training your brain to associate delay with peace. The grocery line test. Choose the longest line at the store. While you wait, observe the people around you. Observe your own urge to check your watch. Every second you wait without complaining is a rep for your endurance. Practice control. Every day. Every moment. The 60-second rule of impulse. Impulse is a wave. It rises sharply, peaks, and then, if you don't feed it, it crashes and disappears. Most emotional mistakes happen because we act at the very peak of the wave. To build endurance, you must practice impulse inhibition. Start with your phone. We are all Pavlov's dogs with our notifications. When your phone pings, your brain sends a command. Check it now. I want you to start a daily practice. When your phone pings, wait exactly 60 seconds before you touch it. Look at the phone. Acknowledge that you want to check it. Feel the slight anxiety of not knowing who messaged you. And wait. By doing this 20 times a day, you are teaching your limbic system that it is not the boss. You are asserting the dominance of your logic over your impulse. If you can wait 60 seconds to check a text, you can wait 60 seconds to respond to an insult. The uninterrupted listener protocol. One of the hardest things for a high-tempered person to do is to listen to someone who is wrong without correcting them immediately. Anger often stems from a corrective impulse. We feel we must set the record straight. We must prove them wrong. This is an endurance leak. For 1 hour every day, practice level 4 listening. When someone is talking to you, even if they are saying something factually incorrect, even if they are being slightly rude, do not interrupt. Do not say actually or but. Wait until they are completely finished. Count to 3 in your head. Then respond. This builds a massive amount of social endurance. It creates a buffer of calm that makes people perceive you as incredibly powerful and wise. You are showing the world that you are so secure in your truth that you don't need to defend it the second it's challenged. Practice control. Every day. Every moment. The cold water mental reset. If you want to see how much emotional endurance you really have, look at your relationship with physical discomfort. There is a direct correlation between how you handle physical stress and how you handle emotional stress. This is why many of the world's highest performers use cold exposure, ice baths or cold showers. When you turn that shower handle to cold, every fiber of your being screams no. Your heart rate spikes. You want to jump out. That panic response is exactly the same response your brain has when someone insults you or a deal falls through. By staying in the cold water for 2 minutes while maintaining slow, deep breathing, you are training your nervous system endurance. You are teaching your body to stay cold, rational, while the environment is stressful, the water. If you can stay calm in freezing water, a hot argument at work will feel like nothing. The 24-hour reset. Endurance is not built in a weekend. It is built through daily continuity. I want you to view your emotional control like a daily scorecard. Every day, you start with a clean slate. Your goal is a perfect game, a day where no external event forced an unchosen reaction from you. If you fail at 2 p.m. and lose your temper, don't throw away the rest of the day. Reset. Analyze why you hit your endurance limit. Were you tired? Hungry? Over-caffeinated? Most people lose their temper when their resilience reserves are low. This is why endurance training includes self-care. You cannot have high emotional endurance if you are sleeping 4 hours a night and living on junk food. Your brain is a physical organ. If you starve the organ, the brakes will fail. Endurance requires sleep, the fuel for the prefrontal cortex. Hydration. Brain fog leads to irritability. Silence. At least 10 minutes a day of total silence to reset your baseline. The compound interest of calm. In the beginning, this training will feel exhausting. You will feel tired from holding back your tongue. You will feel drained from staying in the slow lane. But keep going. After 30 days of these micro-practices, something miraculous happens. The things that used to make you red zone angry, the spilled coffee, the rude cashier, the snide remark, don't even register anymore. Your baseline of calm has risen. You have built so much endurance that the small weights of life no longer require any effort to lift. You move through the world with a lightness and a grace that others envy. While everyone else is panting and sweating from the emotional cardio of their daily drama, you are walking coolly and slowly. You are saving your energy for the things that matter. You are saving your strength for your future. Chapter 9 Summary. The Athlete of the Spirit. You are now in training. Your life is no longer a series of random events. It is a series of representatives. Every person who tests you is a sparring partner. Every delay is a treadmill session. Every impulse resisted is a heavy lift. Do not pray for a life without stress. Pray for the endurance to handle any amount of stress with a smile. The world cannot defeat a person who has trained themselves to be unshakable. Practice control. Every day. Every moment. Practice control. Every day. Every moment. Practice control. Every day. Every moment. Build your armor. 1 second at a time. Chapter 10. Become untouchable. The arrival at the center. We have traveled through the biology of your rage and the mechanics of your breath. We have dissected your triggers, weaponized your silence, and built your emotional endurance through daily repetition. You have learned to observe the fire without being consumed by it. But all of these techniques, the pauses, the breathing, the detachment, are simply tools to help you reach a singular destination. That destination is a state of being. It is a psychological fortress. It is the final evolution of the human spirit in a world of chaos. It is the state of being untouchable. To be untouchable does not mean you are a hermit. It does not mean you have moved to a cave to escape the world. It means you are in the world, but not of it. It means that while the storms of life, the insults, the failures, the betrayals, and the stresses are swirling around you, they cannot find a way inside you. You have reached the eye of the storm. Around you, everything is spinning at 100 miles an hour. But at your center, there is only stillness. And in that stillness, there is absolute authority. Calm is control. Control is power. The gravity of the untouchable. Think about the celestial bodies in space. A small asteroid is easily moved. It is knocked off course by the slightest collision. It has no gravity of its own. It is a victim of the environment. But a sun has so much mass, so much internal density, that it dictates the movement of everything around it. It doesn't react to the planets react to it. Most people are asteroids. They are small mass individuals. They go to work, and if a coworker is grumpy, their whole day is knocked off course. They get a piece of bad news, and their internal orbit is shattered. They are light, flitting, and reactive. The untouchable is a Sunday. You have built so much internal mass through discipline and emotional control that you have developed your own gravity. When you walk into a room, you don't catch the mood of the room. The room catches your mood. If the room is chaotic and you are calm, the chaos will eventually begin to orbit your calm. People will lower their voices because you are quiet. People will slow their breathing because you are steady. You are no longer a follower of the environment. You are the architect of it. Calm is control. Control is power. The leader of the crisis. Every organization, every family, and every nation has a breaking point. When a crisis hits, when the money runs out, when the scandal breaks, when the tragedy occurs, 99% of people will revert to their automatic selves. They will panic. They will blame. They will scream. They will hide. In those moments, the world looks for the untouchable. They look for the person whose face hasn't changed. They look for the person who isn't checking the outrage on social media. They look for the person who is still breathing deeply. Why? Because the world knows, instinctively, that the person who can control themselves is the only person fit to lead others. If you can't be provoked, you can't be manipulated. If you can't be manipulated, you can be trusted. Leadership is not a title. It is a vibration of stability. When you become untouchable, you become a natural leader. You don't have to ask for authority. People will hand it to you because they are desperate for the safety of your shadow. The ultimate ROI, the future you owned. What is the return on investment for all this hard work? Why go through the inconvenience diet and the cold showers and the 5-second rule? The ROI is your future. Every time you didn't lose your temper, you kept a door open that would have been slammed shut. Every time you stayed silent, you gained a piece of information that helped you win a deal. Every time you detached, you saved energy that you then poured into your business, your health, or your children. If you add up all those saved moments over a decade, you will see a life that looks completely different from the life of an average human. The average human has a jagged life. They move forward 2 steps, then lose their temper and move back 1. They build a relationship, then say something cruel and damage it. Their progress is slow and painful because they are constantly cleaning up the wreckage of their own emotions. The untouchable has a compounded life. Because you don't destroy what you build, your progress is exponential. You are always moving forward. Your reputation only grows. Your wealth only accumulates. Your peace only deepens. Calm is control. Control is power. The shield of no ego. The secret to becoming untouchable is the final death of the need to be right. When someone attacks you, they are trying to touch your ego. They want to bruise it. They want to see it bleed. But if you have done the work in Chapter 8, you have realized that your ego is an illusion. If someone calls you a loser, and you know you are a winner, why would you be angry? The only reason to be angry is if you fear they might be right. If you have total certainty in your mission and your character, an insult is just noise. It's like the wind blowing against a mountain. The mountain doesn't argue with the wind. The mountain just exists. To be untouchable is to have 0 surface area for offense. If you don't take offense, you are invincible. You are untouchable because there is nothing for the other person's anger to hook into. They throw their hook, but it finds no purchase. They yell, and it passes through you like a ghost. They try to shame you, and it bounces off your shield of self-discipline. This is the ultimate freedom. You can walk through fire and not be burned. You can walk through the valley of the shadow of death and feel no fear, because you know that the only thing that can truly hurt you, your own loss of control, is under your command. The daily ritual of the untouchable. As we close this book, I want to give you the morning vow of the untouchable. Before you check your phone, before you talk to your family, before you face the world, you must center your gravity. Sit in silence for 2 minutes. Visualize the day ahead. See the potential potholes. See the person who will annoy you. See the email that will frustrate you. And in your mind, see yourself staying calm. See yourself breathing. See yourself observing. See yourself remaining silent. Say to yourself, the world will try to touch me today. It will try to pull me out of my center. I will not go. My peace is not for sale. My future is worth more than a reaction. Calm is control. Control is power. Final words. Control your future. You now hold the keys to the kingdom. You know that your temper is the only thing standing between the person you are and the person you are destined to be. You know that every moment of restraint is an investment in your legacy. The world is loud. The world is angry. The world is reactive. Let it be. You are a master of control. You are a practitioner of the pause. You are the owner of your emotions. Go out into the world and be the cold state in a hot world. Be the steady hand in a trembling crowd. Be the untouchable leader that your family, your career, and your future are waiting for. Control your temper. Control your mind. Control your body. And you will, with absolute certainty, control your future. Calm is control. Control is power. Calm is control. Control is power. Calm is control. Control is power. End of audiobook.